Wisconsin. However, Wisconsin has gone on to not prove that they're very good. They've played really close games, gotten lucky on a couple of them to win. I don't really think Oregon State deserves that 18 ranking. They're very physical again, which is odd for the Pac-12. They play good defense. They don't really have a whole lot on offense, but I think Arizona has a lot to prove after getting drugged by Oregon last week. It's just one of those cases where Oregon's defense was too much. Oregon State does not have the athletes and the speed on defense. I think Arizona's spread and the pace that they play is eventually going to break them down. I can see Arizona winning this game.
Yeah, I think this is a good matchup for Arizona. Oregon State, in their 2 so-so victories, has been pretty weak against the pass, and that kind of factors into Rich Rod's spread-type offense, being able to take advantage of some of those things. What you may have to worry about with the Wildcats is that they did give up some pretty big passing and rushing yards to Oklahoma State, a team that I might consider somewhat similar to Oregon State, but overall Arizona's playing at home. I believe this may be one of their first big home games under Rich Rod. You get kind of a boost from that. I'm going to take Arizona.
Oh, man, 2 in a row we're picking the same.
It's getting dangerous. Can we make it 3? We're jumping over to the Big 12. Baylor at West Virginia. This is West Virginia's first Big 12 matchup.
At home.
At home. Couches burning, like I said. Colby in mind, whatever else they do there.
Mullets being grown.
Yeah. Singing Country Roads, taking them home.
Okay, I think that's about far enough on that analogy.
Maybe we should talk about the game now.
West Virginia had a pretty close game with Maryland last week. Relatively close, about 2 touchdowns.
You want to repeat that just so people hear what you just said?
West Virginia had a relatively close game with Maryland.
That should be a red flag right there.
It should be, but they play each other every year. They're rivals. You can't ever take those rivalry games seriously. I picked West Virginia to win the Big 12. I really expect some big things out of them. Really like their quarterback. Think he's probably a number 1 contender for the Heisman this year. I think West Virginia handles a Baylor team that has no offense, let up 40 points against ULM within 3 quarters. So West Virginia has a lot more talent on offense. I think they get burned for about 60 on this one.
Yeah, Baylor, like you said, got themselves in a little score fest with the friend of the show, Louisiana Monroe, last week.
Go Warhawks.
But like you said, the Baylor D has been atrocious. West Virginia hasn't been awesome. I mean, that Maryland game is definitely a big red flag for me, and the running game has been practically non-existent.
Right. Well, you don't need a running game when you can throw like that.
Yeah, you're not going to have trouble against Baylor. So I'm going to take West Virginia here. And so are you.
3 in a row.
Yeah,
we're doomed.
Things getting crazy here in outputting our coverage and pulling David into the losing.
No, I refuse. I'm just pulling you up.
That's what it is. Screaming. We'll see. Maybe we can get a difference of opinion here. We're going to jump over to the ACC now. NC State and Miami, 2 teams that are still shells of their former selves at this point. Miami's had some close wins over Georgia Tech and Boston College, but I'm still not sold on the Hurricanes yet. I don't know.
No, I'm not. North Carolina State hasn't really played anybody since their Tennessee matchup, which they lost. They were pretty close, but they gave up a lot of big plays to a Tennessee team who was unknown, first game of the season. But I really do like NC State's offense. I think they've kind of grown into the system. They've had a couple games put together, so I think they can score on a Miami team who has not looked very impressive in their wins, but does sit at a 3-1 record. There's only a 3.5 point spread. I think North Carolina State beats the spread and gets a win right here.
All right, well, an interesting stat I saw, Stephen Morris, Miami's quarterback, had a cool 436 pass yards against Georgia Tech last week. A little bit more than I expected him to be doing at this point. I'm still a little bit concerned about NC State's 10-7 victory over Connecticut. That one worries me a little bit, so I'm going to go with the Hurricanes.
All right, we differed on one.
Yes, we'll get a little difference there. I'm sure I'm going to miss that game. Now we're going to jump over to the Big Ten for the so-called game of the week. Ohio State and Michigan State. Kind of shows you where we're at this week when that's the best game day can come up with.
Not a lot going on.
It's a pretty slow week. To me, Ohio State way overrated.
Extremely overrated.
Way overrated.
14, haven't really looked impressive at all. They've had a quarterback who's had a pretty good year running the ball, but can't really throw. They've been close in a lot of games, no matter who they're playing. It seems they play to their opponent's strength. I don't think they can reach Michigan State's strength this week.
Yeah, I am not sold on Ohio State at all. Braxton Miller, I think he's going to be good. He's not quite there yet. Cal, when they played Ohio State, was able to run the ball pretty efficiently against Ohio State, which is good because Michigan State has had some issues passing, trying to break in a new quarterback. That'll help them. Le'Veon Bell, Michigan State's running back, able to get him going a little bit.
Had a couple 200-yard games already this season.
Yeah, I think he can carry that team, and I really think the Michigan State defense is finally going to show up in this game. They're going to be there.
We'll see. But I think the only thing you have to worry about if you're a Michigan State fan is, can you establish the run? That's the biggest key. They're going to stack the box. They're going to load the box. They're going to make you try to throw. But if you can just run into the teeth of that defense and still get good production, you've got this game. However, if they do make you pass, Michigan State can't do anything on offense. So you got to watch out for that.
All right, so we're both going to go the same there again. We're going to take Michigan State.
Yeah.
It's just one of those weeks. We're going to jump back to the Pac-12 now because we know you just can't get enough of that West Coast biased football. Just how it is. Arizona State at the aforementioned Cal. Two teams that pretty much every year just kind of underachieve.
Right. Arizona State's looked pretty good this year until they played their one decent opponent.
Yeah.
And they got drubbed. California 1-3, not looking good. The thing that surprises me is it's only a 2.5-point spread. Arizona State at 3-1, Cal at 1-3. I thought the spread would be a little higher, but maybe somebody knows something I don't. I really like Arizona State's offense. I think they've got a chance to put up some big numbers against the Cal defense that's looked horrible. Haven't really seen a whole lot of Cal's offense, so I'm going to take Arizona State, and I'm going to take them comfortably by at least 14.
I'm going to take Cal in this one because they're at home, because I feel like the two teams are pretty even.
And because you're definitely afraid of Bears.
Yes, that is exactly it. I like the fact that Cal was able to run it against Ohio State. Like I mentioned, I'm a big proponent of whatever team can run the ball better will probably win. Maybe that's not true in the Pac-12. I don't really know how football works out there.
Pac-12 is kind of like quantum physics. It can't be defined, and if you try to define it, it doesn't exist.
So, I don't know. Maybe it's a stupid pick. This is probably why I'm going to finish at the bottom of the standings again, but I don't care. I'm going to take Cal.
All right, have fun with that.
All right, we're going to go back to the Big 12. Texas at Oklahoma State. In my opinion, we still don't really know all that much about Texas yet. They played Ole Miss, but
that doesn't count.
Kind of tough to learn a whole lot. Like I said, David Ash looked pretty good against Ole Miss. 400 passing yards, a couple touchdowns. Oklahoma State, to me, a talented but inexperienced team. Texas, talented as well. A little bit more experience. I don't know. I mean, I hate to just pick the power school here, but
yeah, I'm picking Texas, and simply because Oklahoma State has a freshman quarterback. This is going to be the first real defense that he plays. Like we said, Ole Miss doesn't count. Texas is going to bring some pressure, and they're going to put him on his back. I don't think he responds well. Probably makes a couple mistakes, and all Texas is going to need is a couple mistakes in this score fest I think we're about to have. Texas by a pretty wide margin.
All right, and the final game here on the Big Ten, Wisconsin at Nebraska. Another two teams that have kind of underachieved this year.
Oh, yeah. Wisconsin, definitely everybody. I had them in the national championship game, thought they'd be a lot better. Haven't really shown a whole lot since that narrow loss to Oregon State. Nebraska put up a lot of numbers against nobodies and, of course, had the disappointing loss. Nebraska is the only one who's ranked. I'm off the Wisconsin bandwagon. I think they're horrible. I think Nebraska wins, and I think they cover their 13.5-point spread. I think they win by 2 or 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, Wisconsin very average this year. They've actually benched Danny O'Brien, the transfer quarterback from Maryland, in favor of a true freshman quarterback. So never a good sign when you have to do that. Nebraska had a little bit of a blip against UCLA, struggling in that game, but they've had 2 nice tune-ups since then. I'm going to take Nebraska handily in this one as well.
So we only disagree on 2 picks?
I think that's right. We'll run back through it here. Both of us are going to take Texas A&M over Arkansas. Both of us with Georgia over Tennessee. Both of us with Stanford over Washington tonight. Both of us with Arizona over Oregon State. Both of us with West Virginia over Baylor. David's going to take NC State. I'm going to take Miami in that ACC game. Both of us going Michigan State over Ohio State. David's going to take Arizona State. I'm going to take Cal in that game. both of us with Texas over Oklahoma State, and both of us with Nebraska over Wisconsin. So we're really either going down in flames or going to glory together this week.
We'll see. It'll be an interesting week.
It's going to happen. All right. Got about 4 minutes left in the show, but I really want to run through this here. Let's look through the top 10. I'm going to name each one of the top 10 teams, and we're going to say whether that team is too legit to quit or whether they should just quit.
We'll take a look.
All right, so let's do that. Let's start with Alabama.
Legit.
Pretty easy. Legit. I mean, we've talked about that ad nauseum. Number 2, Oregon.
Legit. I saw a lot out of them last week, so that was pretty impressive.
Yeah, definitely. I'm sticking on the Oregon bandwagon. Predicted them to be in the championship game before this season.
But if you'll look, Louisville 4-0.
Louisville, keeping it real. They are. LSU.
I'm on the fence. I'm not going to judge on that until they play a couple other people. I'm leaning more towards not legitimate. They've lost a lot of players, and they look pretty depressing against Auburn, so I might be leaning towards off the bandwagon, but I'm not going to make a decision yet. What do you think?
I might regret this, but I'm going to go ahead and say quit. I mean, I'm not seeing it at LSU this year. After what I saw in the Auburn game, I just don't think they have what it takes to get to the national championship. They don't have it. All right, number 4, Florida State.
Florida State is legit. However, they will be Florida State, and they will lose at least one game during the year that they shouldn't.
Yeah, where is that game, though? They got a pretty easy schedule. I mean, Virginia Tech. That's it.
That's the point, though. Florida State always loses a game they're not supposed to. Boston College, maybe. I don't know from there.
Yeah, I mean, to me,
Virginia.
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, the jury's still out a little bit, but I'm leaning more and more towards legit for them. Okay. I think they could actually get in the conversation for the title game. Georgia.
Legit. I really like their defense. Their offense can do just enough to keep them in the games. Legit.
I'm going to take a pass on them. I want to see what they do this week.
Okay.
I'm leaning towards legit as well, but Georgia's burned me a lot of times on this kind of thing. So, South Carolina.
Legit. I think they're still winning the East.
No, South Carolina dead to me. They're done. I know it's the first game against Vandy. I saw some very worrisome things in that game. No way.
We'll see.
No way. They're done. Kansas State.
Quit. I think that they showed some real impressive things against Oklahoma. However, you can't win with just one weapon. I think they will eventually get exposed. Defenses will scheme around it. I think they probably should quit.
All right. I agree with you, but here's a caveat. If we're just looking at it from a perspective of winning the Big 12.
Quit.
Quit? Really?
They can get to the championship game, but I don't think they could beat whoever's there.
Okay. I think they can win the Big 12. We'll see. Stanford.
Quit. I don't think they're. I don't think they're who we thought they were.
They're not who we thought they were.
That's
huh?
it. Yeah.
Okay. They're a little bit different than what I thought they were. Probably for the good, but yeah, I agree. They're not really a legit title contender. West Virginia.
Legit. I think they're winning it.
All right. They've looked a little mediocre to me. They are not legit in my eyes. Notre Dame. Quit, huh?
You're losing 3 games this year, Notre Dame.
It's getting tougher and tougher for me to rail against them, but they got a really tough schedule coming up here.
Really quick, you can still sign up for the Pick 10. Andy, who do you like for the Heisman, real quick?
The Heisman, at this point, I hate to go with chalk, but Geno Smith's probably going to win it.
Geno Smith is definitely going to win it. 500 yards a game.
Yeah.
He's got it.
I mean, there's no real good competition for him this year.
Not really.
That's just how it is. So. There's no real good competition for us either. Stop listening to all your other radio broadcasts. Just listen to outputting our coverage every week to get all your college football news. That's it for us here. We'll see you back on the other side next week.